to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets.
Hey, everyone.
You know how it is the tech world, it just never sleeps, right? And right now, a lot of eyes seem to be on Samsung's brand spanking new flagship OLED TV.
Oh, yeah, the S95F. Definitely making waves.
Exactly. It's generating like a ton of buzz, and we figured, you'd want the inside scoop fast.
For sure.
So we've been digging deep, trying to pull together the essential info on what makes this TV tick and, well, whether it's actually a game changer.
Yep. Consider this your shortcut to being in the know. We've basically sifted through those early reviews, the first impressions, all that stuff, to bring you the critical details about Samsung's, well, their latest top-tier TV.
All right, so the S95S, it's not just like another OLED in the lineup, is it? It's carrying the flagship torch for Samsung's OLED efforts. That's kind of a big deal, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it sits right at the pinnacle of their OLED offerings. It's sharing the spotlight with their top 8K and 4K Neo QLED TVs like the QN90F.
Right, the Neo QLEDs, different tech.
Exactly. And that's key. For you listening, the core display technology difference is important. The S95F is OLED, so each pixel makes its own light. You get that amazing contrast.
Yeah, the perfect blacks.
Right. Whereas the Neo QLEDs, they use a different approach. Tiny mini LEDs, quantum dots, aiming for really high brightness. So different paths, both trying for that premium picture.
Now, when we talk OLEDs, I remember it's not always the same thing under the hood, right? There are different kinds of panels. What makes the S95F special here?
You're spot on. Yes, Samsung does have other OLEDs, but the S95, it stands out because it uses a Quantum Dot OLED panel, a QD OLED.
QD OLED, okay.
And that's a different beast compared to a lot of other OLED TVs out there, which often use WRGB OLED tech.
Right, the white subpixel one?
Yeah, white, red, green, blue OLED with color filters. The S95F, from everything we're seeing, it's rocking the latest generation of this QD OLED tech from Samsung Display.
Okay, and what's the advantage there? Like, why go QD OLED?
Well, it's fascinating, actually. Instead of using like a white light source that gets filtered for color, QD OLED uses blue OLED emitters. And then these tiny quantum dots, they're nanocrystals. They convert that blue light into really, really pure and saturated reds and greens. It's the more direct approach.
Ah, okay. So potentially better color? Brighter color.
That's the idea. Potentially superior brightness and, yeah, richer colors.
And speaking of brightness, that seems to be the headline grabber with this TV. I'm seeing some seriously eye-popping numbers being thrown around.
You're not wrong. The S95F is definitely being hailed as the brightest Quantum Dot OLED currently available.
How bright are we talking?
Well, the measurements we're seeing are hitting somewhere in the range of 2100 to maybe 2050 nits peak brightness.
Whoa.
That's measured on a, standard 10% white window.
Okay, let's break that down for us non-tech wizards. What does 2200 nits actually mean when I'm just sitting on my couch watching, like, Netflix?
Right. Think of it this way.
Yeah.
This TV is seriously bright. Yeah. Genuinely among the brightest OLED TVs you can actually buy right now.
Okay.
But the magic, I think, lies in how this brightness works with the color. Because of those quantum dots we just talked about.
Yeah.
The S95F can achieve not just brighter white highlights, but significantly higher and purer color brightness than older OLEDs.
Ah, okay. So colors pop more.
Exactly. So when you're watching a scene with, like, a vibrant sunset or maybe a bright neon sign, those colors will just have a real punch and intensity you might not have seen before on an OLED.
That sounds good for HDR stuff.
Oh, absolutely. This extreme brightness really unlocks the full potential of HDR content. Imagine, like, sunlight glinting off water or the fiery blast of an explosion. These bright elements can be rendered with incredible realism, incredible detail, without losing the nuances in the dark parts of the same image. Those peak highlights are really going to, well, pop.
That sounds pretty incredible. Now, what about for those of us who are a bit obsessive about picture accuracy, wanting to see exactly what the director intended, how does the S95F fare there?
Ah, yes. For you picture purists out there, the S95F appears to be a real winner, especially if you engage filmmaker mode.
Okay, filmmaker mode.
Yeah, the initial tests we're seeing have shown excellent color accuracy right out of the box. Like an average delta E of only around 1.4 for grayscale.
1.4.
And the color errors are also consistently well below a delta E of 2, which is, seriously impressive.
Okay, delta E of 1.4. Just translate that. Plain English, why should we care about that number? What does it mean?
Right. So imagine you're trying to match a specific shade of paint. Okay. A delta E of less than 2 basically means the color the TV is showing is so incredibly close to the ideal reference color
Oh,
that most of us, honestly, wouldn't be able to see any difference at all. It's like getting that perfect paint match at the store.
okay, got it. Super accurate.
Exactly. So a delta E of 1.4 tells us that in filmmaker mode, the S95F is doing a phenomenal job. It's showing you movies, shows, exactly as the creators envision them with incredibly faithful color.
Nice. But what about those times when we're not in a completely dark bat cave? Maybe we've got some daylight creeping in or lamps on. How does the picture hold up then?
That's a great point. And that's where the movie mode on the S95F becomes really useful.
Okay, movie mode. Different from filmmaker.
Yeah. While filmmaker mode aims for that absolute accuracy, in a controlled dark environment, movie mode intentionally bumps up the average brightness levels just a bit.
So less accurate technically?
Technically, yes, it's not as reference accurate, but the benefit for you is that you'll be able to see much more detail in those really dark scenes, even if your room isn't pitch black.
Ah, like shadow detail in dark shows.
Exactly. Think about trying to watch something like, I don't know, House of the Dragon with all its dimly lit interiors.
Yeah, notoriously dark.
Right. The extra brightness in movie mode should make those shadowy details far more discernible. It sort of bridges that gap between pure accuracy and, real-world usability.
Okay, that's a huge plus for those of us who don't have like a dedicated home theater room.
Definitely.
Now, I've also heard some talk about the screen itself, something about an anti-glare coating,
Yeah.
and maybe a slight purple reflection. What's the deal there? Is it controversial?
This is, it's a bit of a nuanced area, and opinions do vary a bit. The S95F uses an anti-glare and anti-reflection technology.
Okay.
And for many people, especially if you watch TV in rooms with windows or other light sources, this can be a real game changer. It significantly reduces those annoying reflections on the screen.
Which is good. I hate glare.
Me too. However, this coating can sometimes, under very bright direct light, introduce a slight purplish tinge to the reflections, or, some say, slightly lift the black levels compared to a glossy screen in pitch black.
Ah, okay. So it's a trade-off. Less annoying glare day to day, but maybe not the absolute perfect black in a totally dark room and a hint of purple sometimes.
Precisely. Some viewers, particularly those who mostly watch in very dark rooms, might prefer the look of a glossy screen they feel delivers the absolute deepest, inkiest blacks in those, ideal conditions.
Right.
They might perceive the matte finish of the anti-glare coating as potentially raising the black floor just a tiny bit. It really boils down to your personal viewing habits and your room setup.
So it's subjective then?
To a degree, yeah. And it's worth mentioning, some rival manufacturers have even done demos trying to emphasize potential black-level drawbacks of these types of anti-glare panels.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but often under very specific and, some might argue, kind of unrealistic lighting setups. In more typical home viewing environments, the general consensus seems to be the screen still appears very, very black.
That's good to know. It sounds like the anti-glare is probably a net benefit for most people.
I tend to agree, especially for mixed-use viewing.
Okay. So if someone is really set on that glossy cutie OLED look, though, does Samsung offer anything else, or are you stuck with the anti-glare on the flagship?
No, they do give you options. Samsung also offers the S90F model,
S90F.
which generally features a glossy screen while still using the Quantum Dot OLED panel, at least in the common 55, 65, and 75-inch sizes.
Ah, okay.
And of course, if you're open to other technologies, you've got glossy WRGB OLED options from companies like LG with their G-series TVs. So you definitely have choices depending on what you prioritize glare handling versus absolute black in the dark.
Good to have options. Okay, shifting gears slightly. What about the brains of the operation? The smart TV side, is it the same old Samsung interface we're used to? Or any changes?
Actually, yeah, Samsung has made some noticeable improvements here. It's their Tizen platform, part of the whole One UI ecosystem.
Right, like on their phones.
Exactly, same look and feel. The big news, I think, for users is increased control over what you see on the home screen. Well, they've enhanced the customization options. And crucially, this is a big one for many. You can now apparently stop the TV from automatically launching into streaming content, like, say, Samsung TV Plus.
Oh, thank goodness.
When you first turn it on, you don't have to have something playing immediately.
Oh, that's a massive improvement. Seriously. I think we've all been there. You turn on the TV and bam, something's playing you didn't ask for. So more user control. Definitely a win.
Absolutely. It allows for a much cleaner, more streamlined experience, lets you jump straight to the apps or the inputs you actually want to use.
Nice.
And as you'd expect from a modern flagship TV, the S95F comes loaded with various AI-powered features.
Ah, AI, of course. The magic ingredient in everything these days. Any hints as to what kind of AI wizardry the S95F is bringing? Is it just marketing fluff or useful stuff?
Well, we don't have all the nitty-gritty details just yet. It's still early days.
Yeah.
But you can definitely anticipate features like AI-driven upscaling.
To make older stuff look better.
Exactly, yeah. Enhancing the picture quality of lower resolution content.
Yeah.
Making your older movies and shows look, as good as possible on that fancy screen.
Okay.
There will likely also be AI enhancements for sound processing, maybe optimizing settings based on content type or things like that. Samsung's heavily invested in AI across their whole product range, so
Right.
it's definitely a key area they're pushing.
Yeah.
We'll probably explore those features more once the TV is widely available and reviewed.
Sounds promising. Okay, so to kind of wrap up our initial deep dive here, the Samsung S95F, it really appears to be positioning itself as a real contender in the high-end OLED market.
For sure.
Big focus on pushing brightness and color thanks to that Quantum Dot OLED panel. It's looking incredibly accurate out of the box, especially for the purists using filmmaker mode, while also offering that brighter movie mode for better viewing in, normal everyday lighting.
Right. Practicality matters.
Yeah. And the anti-glare screen is something to consider based on your room, your preferences. But thankfully, the Smart TV interface sounds like it's gotten more user-friendly. Less annoying, maybe.
That's a pretty concise and I think accurate summary based on what we know so far. It really seems like Samsung is aiming to deliver a premium viewing experience that caters to a pretty wide range of users.
Blending the cutting-edge tech with some practical, real-world benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely shaping up to be a strong contender for, maybe best TV of the year, potentially.
High praise. Fantastic. Well, that's all the time we have for this particular deep dive into the Samsung S95F. It certainly sounds like a TV that deserves a spot on your radar if you're in the market for a top-tier display this year.
Definitely one to watch.
Thanks for tuning into Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.
Yeah, we appreciate the support.
And on that note, thinking about all this screen tech, we're actually curious when it comes to your ideal TV, what's your top priority? Is it those perfect, inky blacks you only really appreciate in a dark room? Or is it more about exceptional brightness and really good glare reduction for watching during the day?
Yeah.
Or maybe you have super strong opinions on whether a TV screen should be glossy or matte?
Yeah, what camp are you in?
Head down to the comments and let us know. We genuinely love to hear what matters most to you.